Waller. That's the version I was listening to. John Waller.
I was thinking of there's two different versions.
John Waller.
There's
I know.
Adoption, and then there's the other
which I didn't realize until I clicked the wrong video, and I'm like, these are not the right words. This guy's singing the wrong song. I'm not alone.
Yeah. The adoption one is more edgy.
I like the other version, the non-adoption version.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NYC Godcast. Welcome back, Jamie.
Thank you.
It has been so long.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. Listen, with these people, it felt like forever.
I mean, you guys were good. She's the person. I am here.
She's my
comfort.
person. Yeah,
I'm her comfort.
Yeah.
I think Miguel's quite nice.
Yeah, he's good. He's very good.
He's a nice person. Yes.
But he's not Jamie.
But he's not Jamie.
Exactly.
He's Jaime.
Right.
Yes.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in for us for what this episode may contain.
Yeah.
Just never know from week
It
to
is a
week.
mystery.
It's yes, even we don't know.
Absolutely. We're most surprised. More than they are. They're like, oh yeah, I saw that coming.
Probably. So this month we're serving up humble pie. Obviously, this time of year we tend to focus on thankfulness, but I think this series came at a perfect time with how it's played out. So in the last few weeks, we've looked at grace and serving. And they were really great episodes. I greatly encourage you guys to go back and listen if you haven't already. In Josh's wise words, the other episode, actually, I don't know if it got on the podcast, but the opposite of humble is pride.
I still stand by my remarks. That is still true.
So I want to take a little look into that today.
You would. You would. Cheap shot.
If you're not going to do it, then I guess I can, right? So if pride is thinking of yourself or raising yourself up, then humility is the opposite. Then that would be not thinking of ourselves and lowering ourselves. Mm-hmm. We touched a bit on that last week about lowering ourselves. I was talking with the boys last week as we were going to work with OCC, different things, about getting to work in the ministry and how it's being God's hands and feet. And I told them, sometimes we would rather sit and play games instead of do God's work. Mm-hmm. Even I sometimes would rather sit on the couch and do nothing than to get up and do, God's work. But the blessing that comes from doing God's work is so much greater than that little bit of fun or relaxing that you may get by doing what you want. Yep. So we had a little discussion about denying self with the boys. I know this is a very big topic, but I think often when we think of denying self, we think of like giving up everything and going to live in a mud hut, know?
Yeah. It's always the extreme.
Yeah, it's the extreme. And while I think that, kind of what we touched in Sunday school this morning, I think God does want to get us to that point. Mm-hmm. I think that there's steps we have to take to get to that point. And that's kind of
not the first step.
Right, right. You don't get off the altar saved and then mud hut. Go Africa. You know what I mean? So
onto the plane.
Yeah, right. But make sure you leave everything here.
Turn around off the altar.
Yeah. Plane tickets. Yeah. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. That's what we're going to talk about today.
That sounds good. We're on board.
Okay, so nice. You got to say it twice.
Exactly.
Are you asking or telling us?
Yes.
I think she was convincing herself.
Yeah.
Reassuring. That is what we're going to do.
This is what we're doing.
Okay.
So to me, denying self is simply not doing what I want. Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound very fun, but with the right heart attitude, it can be fulfilling. Mm-hmm. I know we've talked about this on here kind of a lot, but I want to examine this a little bit closer today. Whatever time of day you're watching.
Whatever you're watching. Morning, night, or noon. We're here.
Morning, noon. There's no windows in here.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 o'clock. So I got to watch. We're good.
All right.
So when we're home and the TV is calling our names, it's so easy, and most of us would just want to sit down and relax, even for 10 minutes, right? God allows you to have 10 minutes. But what if...
That's all I know. Many shorts with Mater.
Get a commercial, but then you get to go.
And a half.
So, but what if instead we prayed, God, what would be the best use of my time right now? Mm-hmm. I guarantee He always has something for you to do, whether it's spending one-on-one time with your kids, kid. Maybe it's baking something for a neighbor, calling and texting someone something encouraging. Maybe there's a ministry opportunity. Or maybe it's just simply more time with Him. The key is to seeking him instead of giving in to whatever we are actually wanting to do. What if instead of giving into our wants, even as simple as playing a game on our phone for a few minutes, we first turn to God?
Yep.
I'm sorry, swallowing.
No, no swallowing. No swallowing.
Swallow silently.
Philippians 2:4 says, "Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others." It's just our human nature to look out for ourselves first and foremost.
Yep.
We think, well, if I'm busy looking out for everybody else, who's looking after me?
Yep.
You know, I think that we've all heard that before. But if we read, and we've hit most of the verses this week. Josh likes to have all the verses and leave nothing for anyone else.
Very true.
There's 66 books, for goodness sakes.
That's why he
Not
goes
all
first.
pertain.
right?
He gets all the
All
good stuff.
scripture is inspired by God for doctrine and reproof.
But over and over again, the Bible says, if we humble ourselves before God, he will lift us up. When we stop worrying about ourselves and our needs, and we give it over to God, he will be the one taking care of our needs. So by taking care of ourselves first before others, we're in much worse hands than if we just let God do it.
And that's so actually I was listening to Leslie Ludy's podcast this week, and one of the things that she said was, and I think it was about like motherhood or whatever, and it was basically, she was like, I need time for me. Like because everyone like assumes that they just have everything together.
Right.
And she's like, I was a mom of, all these kids, adopting and birth, and then also ministry. And she's like, it got to the point where I was like, I need a few days away. So I got those few days away. She's like, I came back and I was just as
Worse sometimes.
Yeah. She's like, I was
yeah.
just as bad as when I left. She's like, because I wasn't getting content because I wasn't placing God first. It was placing me first. She's like, as soon as I allowed God to come into me and give me that comfort, then I was not overwhelmed anymore.
Go ahead.
I think in my life, like to what James said, a lot of times we think, the devil's gonna knock on our door with pitchforks and horns and tell us to go slash our neighbors or the tires. Let's start there. It's like a dark turn to the left.
I've never been told to slash
But
my
really,
neighbors.
it doesn't say that to you. That's concerning. What instead in my life, what he does say actually is take 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Go sit on the couch.
Yep.
Prop
You
your
deserve
feet
it.
up. You
Yeah.
deserve it. That's the devil's lie when your time belongs to the Lord.
Yep.
And like you said, like Leslie said, we fall for it over and over and over again. Well, I'm exhausted. My bones hurt.
Right.
How many
I'm
times do we
tired.
come
I
back
have
from
nothing
vacation
left.
and we're tired?
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
And that's the reason Satan works through our flesh.
Yes.
God works through our spirit. And so when we feed into the flesh, which is anything God would not do, I was thinking when you were talking about being the hands and feet of Jesus, Jesus said in the book of John that my Father worketh until I join him in the work, meaning God is always at work. God never stops working. I had somebody this week, ironically, I was working on the upcoming event for the church, and they were like, they stopped me and they looked at me like, do you think we're just too busy? Like the church is just too busy. We're just doing too much. And I looked at the person, I'm like, I don't know. But what I do know is this. If we were to find some free time or some downtime, we would waste it. That's what I know.
Get in trouble.
Yeah, get in trouble. Like
Yeah.
if we were to do less, we would just waste that. So why do less when we can actually do something for the kingdom?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about working for naught, but what I'm saying is, so we're the hands and feet of Jesus. What if when Jesus was here on the earth, what if he decided to waste his hands and feet then?
Yeah.
What if, he's supposed to be feeding the 5,000 and John finds him behind a tree just sitting there playing thumb with himself? Or, or he's supposed to be walking on the water to save Peter, but nope, he decided to sleep in that morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's inconceivable to think of Jesus being lazy or selfish with his time then. But if we're the hands and feet of if we're his hands and feet now, why would we think his hands and feet would be any different than they were then? Does that make sense?
Yep.
We talked about last week, but Jesus humbled himself, came down in the form of a flesh. He had to do what he didn't want to do. He had to let that cup be drink of. And so what if, it's time for him to come down as a baby and God looks over and is like, what time it is? It's that time. And he's like, no, now 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 3 more centuries.
Yeah.
Right.
That's inconceivable.
Yeah.
God would never, Jesus would never do that. Why? Because he was at the obedience with his time. We shouldn't be any different.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's such well put the way you said that.
Thank you. That's very on my. You don't have to agree with him so hard. And period. That's it. That's all I have.
So like, what I take from this is that like the more busy we make our flesh be, whether it's work or I got to do this, okay, that's like feeding our flesh.
Absolutely.
Because our flesh also desires to do things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like our flesh is ever just sitting there like, I'm gonna let the spirit just do,
You're
whatever.
good, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So the flesh is even like is like a constant, you know what I mean? It's like we set an alarm clock to please our flesh.
The flesh is needy.
I mean? Yes,
Yeah.
it's very needy.
Hungry.
But the thing about it is that our spirit is also hungry and needy. But because we live in a physical world, we feel as though like I have to suffice my flesh because I can't ignore what my flesh needs, but I can ignore what my spirit needs. But in actuality, it's the reverse of that mentality.
Paul says, I have a warring in my members. And what he's talking about is I have the flesh and the spirit, and they both have needs. And it's a tug of war back and forth of who I'm feeding, who I'm giving to. One of my favorite analogies from Ellerslie is the wolf analogy. So there's this Indian, I haven't said this in a long time, so I get a little excited. There's this old Indian chief, right? And he's got two wolves sitting there next to him. And someone walks up and says, if they were to fight, which one would win? And he says this, whichever I feed more.
Yeah.
And that's our spirit and that's our flesh, which is going to win ultimately with your time, which is what you're talking about. But even in service, like is what we're talking about, in sin, like which is going to win? Are you going to use that time and watch TV, prop your feet up, sip some coffee?
Yeah.
Or are you going to read your Bible and pray? Well, which is going to win, flesh or spirit, whichever I feed more.
Yep.
And that's what I don't think just like you're saying, we feel that stomach growl, but we don't have so much a cognizance on our spirit and its needs, and so it starves.
The funny thing is about that is I think we actually do have a growling.
Absolutely.
We just throw it to something else.
Right.
We're always like,
Yeah.
I'm just because I'm so stressed.
It's
It's an emotional, it's a mental game, and we just assume that it's not that we need something spiritually. We just, I'm just stressed right now. It's just because my life's crazy right now.
It's kind of funny because I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
It's like when our spirit is yelling, feed me, okay, we don't think like, I need to feed my spirit. Let me read my Bible. We think, there's something, I'm yearning something.
Yeah.
McDonald's French fries. Yeah. That's what I need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we go to
I should read my Bible. No, McDonald's French fries. Like, I feel that deeply.
But the thing about it is this, if we had the consciousness to say, my spirit is yearning to hear from God, okay, well, let me go take care of that. But that's not what it is. It's like we don't know what we need at that moment, so we just go with what
gorging
we think.
whatever we can find.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we just go for the physical. But honestly, I believe all of us, if the choice was here, is like, you need something, okay? And look, you need more God in your life. We would instantly say, let's go with that instead of saying,
absolutely,
let's go with.
I'd like to take that even a step further. Is that okay?
I
You're
guess
doing
so.
such a swell job here. You just bring the best out in all three of us. I don't know what to tell you.
That's our plan, so she doesn't talk as much. I need to make them talk more.
In John 4, Jesus actually ups the ante because, so you were saying, we should know the hunger of our soul just as much as we know the hunger of our flesh. Thank you.
Yep.
I would say Jesus says in John 4, we should know the hunger of our spirit even more important than the hunger of our flesh, because woman at the well, she comes thirsty physically, and he says, I'll give you a spiritual water that'll make you never thirst again. You know, the next chapter, it might even be the same chapter, it's either 4 or 5, and Jesus talks to the disciples. And I always found it funny that he goes from water to food. But literally the next scene, the disciples come to him and said, we went to get some meat. Would you like some? And he says, I have bread that you know not of. I have food. I know, or I think there he says meat.
Yeah.
So literally you can find in the Bible a place where he says, I have water you know not of, I have meat you have know not of, and I have bread you know not of. What's he saying? Your soul's needs are more important than your food.
Yep.
That is hard for a Baptist podcast.
It is.
But it's true.
rough.
And that, like we're saying, we don't recognize it. We're so in tune with our growling stomachs, but not our growling souls.
But I think too, you can kind of put them together, because I think that so if you're craving that alone time away from the kids because they're just driving you crazy, or if you're, whatever it is that your flesh is trying to tell you that you deserve this thing, what if instead of sitting on your phone and scrolling pointlessly, you found that relaxing in reading more, in praying more. I think that you can kind of put them together. And even like working out, I know that some people take that to the wrong extent, but I think that you can do that in a spiritual way. As far as when I think of working out, I use this time to strengthen the body God gave me to do things for him.
Yeah.
Because I know like Texas was very demanding. And even camp and different things, like I know I couldn't do the stuff I did if I didn't first put my body through that stuff, you know, and I think that you can kind of bring those two things together.
So you say we need a boot camp for camp?
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, is that not what we already do?
Tile floors.
Yes. I still do this in my sleep.
Twitch.
I just seen those videos the other day. They were popping up in the.
I want to go again
speaking of
so bad.
crazy.
Right. That is what that.
Yeah,
you're
that's
right. So I was thinking when you're talking about finding your rest in work. Was what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which ironically, what is like a favorite Bible verse of every Christian? We hear it all the time around here. Take my yoke upon you and I will give you rest. Do you realize what you do with a yoke?
Work.
You work. So Jesus is calling us to work in rest. That's what he's calling us to. In a partnership with him, he's in the yoke with us. Right? We're two oxen, me and Jesus. And he's calling me to labor with him in the yoke. Work and I'll give you rest. Not rest and I'll give you rest. Not scroll and I'll give you rest. Not coffee and I'll give you rest. He's saying work and I'll give you rest. That's missing. Like, I feel like that's one of the reasons we seek contentment and rest is because we're not seeing that vision that he has. Like I already quoted, Jesus said, I work until the Father work, or I join my Father in the work he's doing, meaning Jesus was, even while he was resting, like we read of Jesus sleeping, we read of Jesus going away and praying alone. He went away and rested, but I believe while he was doing that, he was working spiritually. Does that make sense? And so that is, I think that maybe might be another podcast all together, but that's something we all can grow in and do better in is joining him in the work via rest.
Yes.
Right.
So I think when we need something, if we just thought like, okay, so I want to do this or I need to do this. If we would just think and say, wait, let me turn to God, okay? Because, I mean, truthfully speaking, if you're sitting there and your stomach's growling and you're hungry and you read your Bible, while it's possible that can stop your stomach from growling, okay? Never doubt the power of the Lord.
Start eating the pages.
But, you know, like take a banana as you go read the Bible or something. I don't
Be
know.
smart.
But like we just are so just bad at just like trying to fill that void with so many
Everything
worldly
else.
things. And
I remember we did a little, and I'm sure everybody has seen this experiment like 1,000 times, but we did it with our Sunday school class. It was everything will fit in the cup if you put it right.
okay.
And so like we put the big rocks in, those were God. You put him first, and then you put in beans. Those are your friends. Those are the things that you know. Your
friends.
Yeah, bean friends. They're your friends, they're your family, the time that you spend with them. And then water is your wants, your needs. And it will only fit if you put God first, then family, and then you. And that's the only way it fits. Otherwise, it just explodes.
Right.
Yeah. There's no way.
And
to-
we were like,
Isn't that a life lesson?
well, like, the thing-
Slash your neighbors and life explodes. I don't know.
and like all the
probably
kids were like,
true.
it didn't fit. And we're like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
because you didn't put it in the right way.
We did that for a prayer station one
Yeah,
year.
we did.
I
I think
thought so.
so,
With
yeah.
the clear
tennis
Tootsie Roll
balls and
containers,
then,
yeah.
Yep.
So that is something I think is unique about our church that wasn't so much this way when I was a little girl. Am I allowed to say that?
A wee little girl.
A wee little girl was she? She didn't climb a sycamore tree.
I climb trees.
Not a sycamore.
woods. But we have a great sense of unity here now. And I think we all genuinely care for each other in this
I
church.
agree.
I definitely think we all have plenty of room for improvement, but more often than not, we see our church family helping and caring for one another.
Yep.
I mean, a Sunday doesn't hardly go by that I have to throw my own trash away. There's tons of people going around picking up trash for each other, and just we're all looking out for each other. There's been plenty of times in my life I thought I needed something, thought I wanted something, and I did what I wanted. And those are the times that I end up miserable.
Yep.
And then this is an area of my life that I'm working on every day. I try to evaluate daily from the time I get up in the morning till I go to bed. Is this what I'm currently doing, what I'm currently in? Is this what I want to do? Or is this being obedient to God?
Yep.
That's such a tricky question because we can convince ourselves like, all right, I can kill two birds with one stone.
Yep.
You know, I can serve God's what God wants me to do. And look, I get to do what I want to do too.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work like that. But I do think that the closer you come to God, the more things that he asks you to do are things that you want to do anyway.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've joked on here a lot about some of us being planners. And I actually wrote a whole entire podcast on how I'm a list maker. Still one of my favorite titles.
Love it or list it.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah, that's surprising because I actually couldn't think of it at the time, and that's very embarrassing. I didn't come up with it. So I'm that person. I have a to-do list every day, right? And I used to think, okay, God, I have all the stuff I need to do. you still the son, right? You can help me do this stuff, get this stuff accomplished. I thought by asking God to help me.
Say that sentence again.
He's still the son.
Okay, I didn't know you were saying you stilled a son, or you stilled the sun.
You
Those are
stilled
two very different things.
Yes.
And I was trying to follow you. They're both true.
She was not
but
trying to be hip.
you stilled a son. I understand.
Okay.
You're referencing the book of Joshua.
Yes,
Okay,
there you go. Welcome back. So I thought by asking God to help me accomplishing these tasks that I was doing the right thing, right? I'm not doing them myself. God is helping me do them. All good, right? I'm the type of person that if my list doesn't get completely done, then pretty much what I've done for the day doesn't matter because it wasn't all done. But what I was seeing was my to-do list would grow throughout the day, and it really never got done. So therefore, I was just stuck in a rut.
You're miserable.
Yeah, just always miserable, never getting anything done. God started working in me that I needed his help. God started working in me that though I do need his help, I was still following my to-do list.
She almost got a rut.
I did. I was like, what? That's a different
She's skipping.
Smack me. You gotta hold it up when you go over the
Train
railroad
track.
tracks. Yeah, the railroad tracks.
We're so old, guys.
I know.
No one listening knows what
They're
we're
like, why are they holding a pizza?
On railroad tracks.
with music playing.
So my morning prayer has been changed to, God, help me to do your doing today. Whatever you have for me to do, help me accomplish that today. Help me not to be upset with my expectations I set for myself, but be led by your word. What happened for me was I really hardly ever got my to-do list done. I would try to follow his leading throughout my day. And when I was obedient and I felt that I did the things that he wanted me to do that day, I felt at peace. I felt that sense of accomplishment. Not because I got so much done, because more than not, I really don't get much done on my list, but because the things that I did get done were for him and is what mattered.
Right.
Yep.
It's not fun and it's not easy, but by not worrying about all the things that I need to do, by denying myself, even in the to-do list, I have felt such a peace and a joy.
I think that, Andrew Marie. I think that, a lot of times we hear, the word Christian means you're Christ-like. And so we think of that and we're like, well, I don't swear all the time. So, so I'm a Christian. Like, that's how I know I'm living like Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't, slash my neighbors. And so that's how I know I'm
Or
a
the tires.
Christian. I didn't say that. Don't push the envelope.
It's not
But I would
murder.
like to propose. It's not morally wrong.
No, I said it's not murder.
Tire murder. But what I'd like to propose is what Rachel just read. That, to me, that sounds more Christ-like than ceasing from swearing.
Yeah.
Because there are people who've been to AA, or people who've been to therapy, or people who've been to this or that, the other, who've given up things or stopped doing morally imperfect things. They can stop swearing by
right.
willpower. Living a life of his agenda, that's something only Jesus can do.
Right.
And so that, to me, is more Christianity than what we see called Christianity all around us. How many of us really can say we lay our lives down for him to do the doing? For him to just say, you know what? You have this list planned, slate it all, get rid of it all, erase it, you're doing my things to do. That's what Jesus literally did. The entire, all four Gospels, that's all we read, is Jesus doing that which the Father told him to do. Jesus saying that which the Father said to say. Jesus going where the Father said to go. That's all that is.
Yep.
That's what Rachel just said, was living a life given to him for his agenda and his will.
Yep.
I think that we just tend to think, obviously Jesus was different than us, but we kind of look at it as like Jesus woke up, and there was like a voice message from God. Today, I need you to go do this, go do this. Go, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you know what I mean? He goes outside and goes, I heard from the Father. This is what he wants me to do. I'm off to do my
Remind me to
things.
call him back.
Yeah, exactly. But we wake up, you know what I mean? We check our voicemail and it's like, oh, nothing. So what am I supposed to do today? You know what I mean? And obviously the answer, if you stay in his word, you will know what to do. You know what I mean? It's people kind of look at it from well, God didn't tell me to do anything today. So today is a free day. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if you're constantly in the word, then just living your life as a true Christian is what you should be doing. You know what I mean? I know when I first started coming here, and I was struggling with reading my Bible over doing, other things. So then I just made it a habit of I literally put my Bible on top of my laptop.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no way I can get on my laptop without physically moving the Bible out the way. And then
He's got mouse traps on his laptop. got to outsmart the flesh. That's right.
But then it's just like, like you pick up the Bible, I'm going to move the Bible out the way to get on my laptop. I'm moving God out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, that has, I've grown to the point that I don't need it. It's not next to my laptop. But it's still like a reminder of what I need to do. I have like prayer reminders on my phone. And like the reminder would be like one verse. And when I first saw it, I would like read the verse, think about it, and then going about my day. Now it's like, read the verse. Now read the whole chapter about the verse. You know what I mean? So I'm actually reading like chapters just, at work or whatever. Like, sneak to the bathroom, read a chapter. Those chapters can be lengthy at times. I can't just. But anyway, that's beside the point. But my point is that like we have to because our flesh is so prominent. Okay, we need to contain our flesh with like almost like to say like fleshly reminders.
Practical.
You
we need to be practical.
Right, practical about how
absolutely.
Yep.
Rachel, you actually didn't say it, which I'm surprised.
No.
The definition we use of pride all the time.
It's the opposite of humble.
That is not what I was going to say. It's not thinking less of yourselves.
Yeah.
I almost quoted that, but we talked about that a few weeks
Well,
back.
to me, that's really it's a nice bow on top. Is it? It's a nice bow on top, or whipped cream on top of the pie, obviously, for the whole thing, because that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Like we think of pride as the guy who gets up and I have a nice car and a beautiful family, and you should be happy for me. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know what pride looks like, but that's not really. That was good. Okay, I was trying.
Very convincing.
very prideful.
I don't know if that's a compliment or a put down, but thank
You're
you.
so humble, you have no idea what pride even is. Like,
Wow.
But really, you can be the most.
I know.
You can be the most quiet, meek, lowly person ever. But if you're always thinking about you and how to use your free time when you're by yourself and how to, you're still prideful.
Right.
Yep.
Because you're not thinking less of yourself, you're thinking of yourself less. That is humility.
Yes.
So do you want to say that?
You said it.
Well, not the full thing. You do it so nicely.
No, that's it.
Okay, fine.
By C.S. Lewis. I'm pretty sure that's how it was.
Now it feels right.
You put the dash on there.
Yeah. So am I still allowed to quote somebody else?
Sure. Always room for Andrew
Yeah,
Murray.
so because of who it is. So our quote for today is, I don't actually know what camera I'm supposed to look at. I keep looking at that.
Yeah,
camera.
you
I feel
just-
like-
You look at both.
Yeah. Cross-eyed.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at that one. My bad.
Oh, okay.
That one's staring right at you.
I know.
So our quote for today is, humility is nothing but the disappearance of self in the vision that God is all, by Andrew Murray.
That's close to the same thing.
Yeah,
Andrew Murray quoting C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
Actually, C.S. Lewis was probably born after Andrew Murray.
I know.
I have no idea.
I would have guessed.
Get your dead guys straight.
Yeah, that's
I would guess so.
so for the featured content, we'll go with What If I Give Everything?
That's a good one,
That's a good
Jamie.
one.
I think you have something to do at this point. Was that it?
No sound, just Jamie Waller.
Okay, I'm glad I asked for that.
Who sings
Casting
that?
Crowns.
Casting Crowns. Okay. And
That was like, listen, that played over
I know.
and over and over, and you
For
didn't know who was
6
back.
days
I'm
straight.
horrible with artists.
Oh.
I'm really bad with artists and titles.
So am I.
And
Good, I don't feel
just
so
knowing songs in
And
general.
just knowing songs in general,
Lyrics.
not like the same 3 songs I listen to. All right, so for our Charged Up Challenge this week, I want you guys to, over the next few days, think of ways that you can deny yourself. I'd like you to maybe write down some things that you do for yourself daily. Maybe you buy coffee every day on the way to work or school. Maybe you spend your lunchtime scrolling social media. Whatever it is that you're doing for you, I want you to write them down. And then over the next couple of days, when you go to do something from that list, pray instead and see what maybe God would have you do rather than the things that you want to do.
Very good.
That was the most beautiful try inhaled I've ever seen.
It could have been a quadri.
I can't breathe in that long. My lungs aren't big enough.
I started like halfway through the
Yeah.
That's the only reason I got
theatrical.
it.
It was.
She had her mouth open.
So this is Thanksgiving week.
yeah.
Yes.
We didn't say anything about that.
Happy Thanksgiving!
Well, you were supposed to every episode do something we're thankful for, and we forgot last week. So now you have to each give 2 things you're thankful for.
Oh, I'm thankful for my son.
That's good.
He's here. He
Where?
did that. He's right here.
That would be hilarious. That would be-
No, he's here and he's healthy and he's good. Another thing that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that I'm gonna be able to actually have like a Thanksgiving because like I didn't know if I'd actually be able to spend time with anybody because I thought I'd be in the hospital. So
That's nice.
I get to
Like
actually
giving birth, not like
I thought I would be in the hospital. No, but yeah,
Josh.
Oh no.
That happens when you're not in
I
charge.
guess.
popcorn, Josh.
Corn Josh?
Popcorn.
Oh, I thought it was Corn Josh. I'm like, did you just call me behind my back?
Now we do.
In front of you, behind you, it's fine.
I'm thankful for our church, which I think you said last time. But I didn't. So I'm thankful for our church. Like even after today, like it was a really great day. And you know, the service was amazing. We had a baptizing, we had a celebration with the ministry. But even beyond that, like I'm grateful for that. But even beyond that, I'm grateful for, we all have eyes to see and ears to hear. And I feel like in our day, that is such a rare thing for a church to have.
Yeah.
But like I hear people out, you know, we're eating lunch. We should be talking about sports and dumb TV shows that don't matter. But instead, we're talking about what we just learned in church. And we're talking about the Sunday school lesson. We're talking about the message. We're talking about what God's doing in our lives. I'm grateful to belong to a church like that. That is something very precious and special that is rare.
Yeah.
Secondly,
That was a long first.
Have you known
count for
Josh?
two if you want to.
Have you known Josh say anything quickly?
Sure.
My family.
Boom. Roasted.
I'm your family.
My wife and child. And everyone but my sister.
Wow. Do you know
She
her?
loves muffins. She really does. That's what she had for breakfast this morning, ironically.
Oh, that's funny.
He's the Muffin Man. Now we're gonna go to the Muffin Man.
Now to the Muffin Man.
Why are you the muffin man?
He sells muffins.
He sells muffins.
I still don't know how you guys found that out.
I don't know. My mom told me.
Why didn't I find that out?
Oh, he doesn't live on Drury Lane though.
Well, that's good.
Is it?
How can you be the Muffin Man and not live there?
I thought he's a hypocrite.
Just a shell of a Muffin Man.
I'm Corn Josh, and you are a shell of the muffin. Guys, we're gonna have a superhero TV show on Marvel
More
now.
of a band name.
You're right.
Oh my
You're right.
But like he has to play a kazoo.
Sounds more like a bowling team.
CJ just downgraded us all. He just humbled us and lowered us way down there.
Wow. We're from superheroes to a boy
To bowling
band to
team.
a bowling team.
Probably
go.
like Alzheimer's bowling, like broken hips and walkers.
But I really
like,
could see you guys have like are they jerseys? What are they?
The
like,
sleeves.
Like the just like I don't are they jerseys that bowlers wear?
I mean, is bowling a sport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then it can be a
Okay,
jersey.
like we're like on the back,
I think they're
just like
called
Corn Josh.
shirts. Bro. Like, they don't- yeah.
Almost the muffin or
On the
shell of the muffin.
Shell of a Muffin Man.
That's long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to abbreviate.
Tiny letters. What magnifying glass connected to your shirt so they can read it? This is what are you thankful for? My goodness.
Bring us back, Kevin. Bring us
He's
back.
thankful that this is almost over.
Yes.
Amen.
No, okay. I am thankful for the Lord. I think we all are. I know we all are. I'm thankful for the Lord and how He just has worked with me and through me and brought me to a better understanding of who I am compared to who He is. It's like a daily reminder to myself, you know, and I'm actually at a point now where I don't understand how people can't believe this.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like lost. Like, what do you mean you don't understand it? Like it's pretty plain and simple. So I'm thankful for the way that the Lord has worked with me and through me. And I'm also thankful. I think I said this to someone last week. I know Sister Georgia was there. So as many of you know, I used to be a DJ.
That I knew.
I also used to work at McDonald's. And
I also knew.
yeah.
The muffins caught me off guard.
Okay. All right.
But we're not going to talk about that.
All right. So when I went to people's drive-through order, they would say, like, "You have such a wonderful voice. You should be on the radio or podcast." But so
Here we are.
So and then
That's
last
where we
week,
found him, the McDonald's driver. Just the thing for you. Lord is calling.
Honestly, the amount of times that we all go to McDonald's, that really surprises me.
Jamie found you, no doubt.
This guy at McDonald's always takes my help.
I feel like McDonald's should give us some pay on this episode. We've talked about them a lot.
But Miguel, who filled in for Jamie last week, we were talking about the podcast, and he said he felt like he was stumbling through it, and he says to me, he goes, "But you have like your voice." Is I'm like, "No, I don't like my voice." But then I realized no one likes their voice.
Yeah,
when they're
it's true.
talking. So
It's true.
Anyway, so my point here is that as a DJ for 20 plus years, like I said, I was talking to Sister George and someone else. I feel as though during those 20 years, I was using a gift that God gave me to do Satan's work.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, I know some of you may be scratching your head to that, but that's a whole nother.
Too much. It's too much.
Scratching.
That's
Wiki.
He's trying to be hip.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a fail on all accounts.
It's okay.
I'll stick with Corn Josh.
Yeah.
But so I actually did work the nativity scene last year. I was one of the 3 wise men, and then I did the Easter one, and then the Thanksgiving one. So I'm like, now I feel as though I'm using the gift that God gave me to spread His word.
Yep.
Because I'm going to be spreading the gospel at the next church event, which I'm super excited to do. So I'm just really thankful that after spending most of my life wasting the gift that God gave me, that He has found a way to turn me around and use the gift for its true purpose.
You're actually the second person I've heard say that this week.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it was you not talking about Samson last week? Or was that
No,
your dad?
that was the
Dad.
message, Sunday morning message.
Okay, right. And that just hit me like, wow, like that's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not Samson. You guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah. This we're done. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak here. I just so sorry.
The buzzer's gonna go off.
We all know the verse in is it Genesis where Joseph, his whole story, and the Bible says that what the enemy meant for evil, the Lord worked for good. But like in your case, I think it's more of what the enemy took hostage for His purposes, the Lord redeemed, and like that's beautiful. That's what the gospel is all about: is taking back that which has been stolen and using it for the kingdom of God's glory, God's glory of God's kingdom.
Yes.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm
good.
You have to be thankful for
I'm
something.
thankful for something. Oh no.
You had all this time. I stalled as long as I could. You're kicking me under the table.
I'm sure you could have stalled longer.
She's thankful this is done.
Yes. Kind of like Kevin, I'm thankful for, it's only taken my whole life, but I'm at the point in my relationship with God that like, I used to just depend on whatever the preachers say, whatever the Sunday school teacher says, and like, that's just what you do. And I feel like now I have my own intimate relationship with God over the last few years, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm also thankful for, all of the ministry opportunities we have in our church, and that I get to work in them, but that I get to work in them with my family, with my husband and my kids. That's rare, and we all enjoy it. We all have a good time together, and it's fun. And I'm just thankful that my kids are starting young, that's just going to be their lives, is working for God. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, we good? Okay, Josh has zipped his mouth, so and
the
goose is out. So with that, the goose is out. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.